Welcome to the fourth episode of the Blow the Whistle podcast. My name is Britton Ross. We're going to talk all things Sooner sports and the biggest headlines from around the biggest leagues in sports. Today I'm joined with Hunter Cornejo. Hunter, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Britton?
I'm doing all right. We're going to dive right in. The NFL draft starts tomorrow. You're a big ball knower. Who is going to be the first pick taken?
It's going to be Cam Ward. I feel like this whole draft process in general, usually you have an idea of, okay, what the order is going to be, who's going to go where. This year, everything's all over the place. It seems like any mock draft you look at is going to be different, but the one consistency is Cam Ward at number one. It's not going to be Abdul Carter, even though he was talked about every now and then as potentially being the number one overall pick. I think he's the best player in the draft, but Tennessee is going to go all in on getting what they hope to be as a franchise quarterback in Cam Ward.
Well, and you mentioned Abdul Carter. Where do you think he's going to end up?
As of right now, probably 3, unless the Giants pull off a Giants-type move or the Cleveland Browns decide to pair him with Myles Garrett, which that would be a championship-level defensive line. It's just you don't have a quarterback, you don't have an offense, and you don't necessarily have other parts of a defense other than Denzel Ward. So, yeah, I think as of right now, probably number 3 did not tank his value enough to fall to number 32. So.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Peter Schrager's projected. He's got Travis Hunter, the wide receiver cornerback combo out of Colorado, going number 2 to Cleveland. I mean, is that where you see him?
Yes, unless they pull off a Abdul Carter or Shedeur Sanders if they decide to take a quarterback. This quarterback class I'm not big on, really. I don't think any of the guys talked about for the first round are first-round caliber quarterbacks, but that's the name of the game in the NFL. You're going to draft a quarterback in the first round if you need a quarterback. And, I mean, just listening to Schrager some on TV, he talked about a good point of, if you draft them in the first round, you get 5 years of control compared to the 4 if you draft them outside of the first round. So that's another part of it as well. But, yeah, I feel like Travis Hunter is the obvious pick. I mean, the Heisman winner, you don't even have to decide where you're going to play him. You can plug and play him at corner or at wide receiver. I think he's more of a corner with that Dion effect of big moments. You'll put him in at wide receiver and let him make something happen.
Yeah. See, I had kind of thought that too. He says he wants to try to play both ways, and I don't think it's going to work next level.
I agree. I think it would be great. I think if anyone could do it, it would be him. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, even what he did at the college level at Colorado was unbelievable to be able to play the amount of snaps he played both ways. Now you're talking about the NFL. It's a different level of physicality, of just hits, of pure stamina in general. I don't know how he would be able to do it week in and week out the entire time of the game, basically, on the field.
Yeah, I could see him playing like a full-time corner and then coming in, as you said, kind of for the bigger moments. I could even see him, for some reason, I could see him experimenting in the NFL with the new kickoff returns, just trying to throw him back there, see if he can get something.
Yeah,
maybe.
A player like that, you just have to give him the opportunities at times with the ball in his hands. It's like special teams is certainly an option.
It's like a better version of Cordell Patterson.
Oh, a significantly better.
Yeah. Well, version. I just mean where they put him 100%. They put him at punt return, kick return, they put him at running back, they put him at receiver, they put him everywhere.
Yeah.
So the best running back, in my opinion, the Heisman snub, Ashton Genty, Schrager's got him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't like that. I don't know why, but I don't like that.
I think that would be I don't know. I feel like that's not a pick that the Jaguars need to make. Are you giving up on Travis Etienne already? Because I think Travis Etienne's a pretty good running back when he's healthy. And there's other issues. I mean, you have a first-time head coach, Liam Cohn, who I think could be a good head coach for the Jaguars. I don't like that pick. I would rather see them go the route of a defensive lineman or maybe even another offensive lineman, something that gives them an immediate fill of a need. I don't think running back is a need for them when you have a very good running back in Travis Etienne currently.
So where would you like to see Genty go?
The next spot, which is Vegas at number 6. I think that's the
that works a lot
perfect
better.
landing spot for them. You have a great quarterback there in Geno Smith, paired up with his former head coach and Pete Carroll. So to be able to, if you can get that done to where you're adding arguably the best pure playmaker in this draft in Genty to Las Vegas, that's a move that I think would be a home run for them to kind of cap off their offseason.
Yeah, and the Raiders have really kind of had, from what I've seen, is like they've struggled in the running game, especially after Josh Jacobs left.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to really use a revolving door of running backs last year, Madison, White, and all of that. So to be able to establish another clear number one like they had in Josh Jacobs, I think is the best solution for them going forward. And, I mean, you're looking at a very tough division year in and year out, with the Broncos being back with Bo Nix, Sean Payton. The Chargers are, I think, always going to be a team that's going to be able to compete as long as Justin Herbert's there, and then obviously the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. He's got Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, to the New York Jets at the 7th pick.
I like that. I personally, I think the Jets could go the tackle route, taking Mimbu from Missouri. But, I mean, tight end, Tyler Warren, you just watch him on the biggest stages of college football.
Incredible.
It seems like everyone says this all the time of, oh, this guy's going to be a great tight end and all that. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily happen, or this is a top 10 worthy tight end. I think Tyler Warren is absolutely that kind of player with how he was able to show up not only in the first round game at home, but I mean was a key part of Penn State being 3 points away from potentially having a shot to go to the national championship if they beat Notre Dame in the quarterfinals.
And then back-to-back Georgia picks, Jalen Walker to the Panthers and Mikael Williams to the Saints. I just the Jets, the Panthers, and the Saints are teams where it's like, yes, those picks make sense as these are the best available players, but I don't feel like either three of those picks really help them now.
Yeah, Jalen Walker is the best linebacker, your stereotypical linebacker in the draft, not an edge, a pure linebacker. Does that mean he's a top 10 pick? I don't necessarily know. Is he good enough for it? Absolutely. The talent's there. It's just for whatever reason, teams don't like drafting linebackers in the first round, and I think much less in the top 10 is, I mean, you look at Walker, if he goes number 8, there's probably not another linebacker drafted till late second round at the earliest, maybe even third round, depending on where you're looking at. It's always going to be a case of linebackers not getting a lot of love in this NFL draft.
Man, I love watching Mikael Williams at Georgia this year. That he's an edge rusher, and he might be one of the most athletic people I've ever seen. Just insane.
Georgia, their defensive line production it's unmatched. I mean, you see it right now with the Eagles, with the guys that they have from Georgia. You see it all over the league. I mean, even Walker a few years ago, number 1 overall pick. That's something that I feel like you can never go wrong with taking a Georgia defensive lineman, just on the fact of what they have produced in years past, and then they're just going to continue to do that as long as Kirby Smart's the head ball coach there.
Mm-hmm. Schrager has the Colts trading with the Bears to get the 10th pick to take Colston Loveland, a tight end from Michigan, at 10. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why you trade up for Loveland at that point. For the Bears, if you scroll down on it, it works out for them. I think who they need to draft is Kelvin Banks. That's the the obvious pick. I think he's good enough to be a top 5 pick. That's just throughout this process, it's ended up that that's not going to be the way that he goes. So to be able to get him at 10, I think is great for Chicago. But in that case, to move down to 14 and still be able to get him and also pick 80 as well. It would be a home run for them, for the Colts. I don't know why you're necessarily giving up a third-round pick to move up 4 spots and take a tight end that could still be there when you're there at 14.
Yeah. I'm kind of just scrolling through. There's not a whole lot of, like, I feel like there's not quite as many big names this year. And then, I see Calvin Banks here at the for the Bears. And, man, he's unbelievable. Dude, I was at that Red River game on the in the, what would that be, the north end zone, the one without the tunnel. And I was sat there, and it was hot, and I was all alone, and I was stuck with all the Texas fans behind me. And I look over, and there's Bevo in his cage. And I was like, oh, like, I hate this so much. But, like, all of the touchdowns came my way, and that was pretty cool. But, like, I remember hearing about Banks coming into this season, and so I was kind of made a mental note of to kind of, like, watch him, and, man, he's really good. I mean, that's really kind of...
I mean, he's been as advertised his entire career, from the recruiting days to freshman year, trying to get a little bit of playing time here and there for Texas, to then really taking that next step 2 years ago and then this past year as well. I mean, he's a key part as to why Texas has been able to be as successful as they've been, because whoever's in at quarterback for the Longhorns, their blind side is going to be pretty much absolutely protected at all times with Kelvin Banks. And I think that that's going to be the same said for if it's potentially Caleb Williams, who's blocking for, who was sacked more times than probably either of us could count last year.
Yeah.
It was...
Okay, to be fair, a decent chunk were his own fault.
A lot of them were.
A decent chunk. The Bears' offensive line is bad, but not all of them were on.
Correct, and that's kind of Caleb's style of play, of trying to be a hero and get himself into a little bit of trouble at times.
He's got to figure that out.
I think the biggest thing to figure that out for him is giving him
line.
not even good, just a serviceable. What Chicago had last year wasn't serviceable. It was just flat out awful.
It was bad.
They're lucky to have won any of the games that they had. They did win with an offensive line that bad. And so far this offseason, that's been their top priority outside of getting Ben Johnson as the head coach, is to beef up the offensive line, and then tomorrow night have the potential to do it again with a talented offensive tackle.
Now, this next pick that we were going to talk about might be a little bit unfair. Defensive tackle Walter Nolan to the 49ers. That feels unfair. That 49ers defensive line is already pretty good.
Yeah, and Walter Nolan, I mean, every mock draft you look at for him is different. That's one of the craziest things, because you watch him, what he's been able to do in the SEC, what he did last year for Ole Miss. I mean, he looks like he's going to be a very dominant defensive tackle in the NFL. And then you can look at some mock drafts. I mean, just a couple days ago, I looked at one on ESPN. They had him falling to number 32 to the Philadelphia Eagles. So...
No, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah,
I'm wearing an Eagles shirt right now.
I would be all for it. I think that would be the home run Howie masterclass that any Eagles fan is going to expect out of this draft. And then you also, I mean, Mel Kiper a few weeks ago had him in the second round. So some of the variations there, I don't know where he's going to end up. I just know that if he ends up in an organization like San Francisco, like Detroit, like Philadelphia, talking on the NFC side of things, I mean, that's a home run situation for him, because those three teams are set up for long-term success and potentially Super Bowls.
And he doesn't immediately have to come in, and he doesn't have to be that number one guy. I think that's so important with, honestly, at any position, where it's like if you're immediately coming in, there's such an expectation for first round picks to just come in and, hey, this is your team. You're that dude. And whenever players come in, like Jalen Carter, for example, from the Philadelphia Eagles, he didn't immediately have to come and be that number one guy because was that Fletcher Cox's last year was his rookie year?
Correct.
Yeah, and then they had Jordan Davis from the year before.
Yes.
And so, like, he was already kind of, like, not...
I think for interior defensive linemen, because you shouldn't expect them to put up crazy stat numbers. Mm-hmm. Because if that's the case, that means somebody else isn't doing their job, and maybe even themselves not doing what you actually need them to do. I mean, their job is to usually fill gaps and kind of create distractions to allow your edge rushers, to allow your linebackers, and to allow the guys around them to make plays. So I think for first-year players, specifically interior defensive linemen, as you mentioned, it's very tough for them to have to come in, be the guy instantly because, I mean, you can play in the SEC for 4 years. It's still not going to completely prepare you for what you're going to see from professional offensive lines, even the bad ones. Mm-hmm. Like these guys are so talented to where it's tough to go in there and from the beginning be able to make an instant impact. So again, to get in a spot where you don't have to be the guy with a team that is built for long-term success, it's built for deep playoff runs, and to be able to ease into it is huge.
I'm going to skip around just a little bit to pick number 20 in this mock draft to the Denver Broncos, wide receiver from Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka. I've never been able to pronounce that right.
Correct.
Him paired up with former OU receiver Marvin Mims. I like it.
I do too. My only concern there is you're looking at who is still available at the wide receiver position. Matthew Golden in particular. I feel like Golden should be slotted up there, but I'm glad you brought that up. Wide receiver in this draft, I think, is the term odd acceptable? Like, because Matthew Golden has all this hype because of his 4.29 40 time, great playoff run for Texas. So Luther Burden, in my opinion, is the best. Pure talent.
From what I've seen, I would agree that Luther Burden might be the best. Maybe it's because he's probably still haunting my dreams from the OU and Missouri game, potentially. But so in this mock draft from Peter Schrager, I mean, you have Travis Hunter at 2, who, I mean, we both don't think will be a full-time receiver. And then the next receiver is at 19 to the Buccaneers, who I don't even know if I'm going to try to pronounce this name.
I believe it. McMillan
from Arizona.
And McMillan, in my opinion, is worthy of being a top 10 pick.
Really?
You look at his frame, you look at, just that Alamo Bowl against Oklahoma,
Yeah.
December 2023?
Yes.
He had over 200 yards receiving, multiple touchdowns, was absolutely dominant in that game for Arizona, and then continued it up, paired with Noah Fafita, a longtime friend, even in a year that wasn't successful in the win-loss column. McMillan was able to just put up video game numbers at times, and with a 6'4", 6'5" frame is very impressive. 6'5", 212, according to ESPN. So if he falls to 19, that is.
Well, they got him going to the Buccaneers, and you pair that with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin, hopefully he's able to recover from another just brutal injury this past year. But you pair 2 6'5+ wide receivers together, one of which who's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer in Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. That's a dangerous scheme for Baker Mayfield to have down in Tampa.
Another Colorado pick, Shedeur Sanders to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Love it. All for it. I think that is a great landing spot for him, pairing him up with Mike Tomlin. Everything, according to reports, is that he's met very well with Pittsburgh, and everyone is on board in that situation. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
Is Dion on board?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone has asked him necessarily if he's on board. And you probably shouldn't, because I don't think you're going to get the answer you want to hear most of the time if he's on board.
Didn't Dion say that he only wants Shedeur to play in New York?
Yeah, he said a lot of things. It's sometimes hard to keep up with exactly what he is saying when it comes to Shedeur. I mean, again, Shedeur is a very talented quarterback. I'm not big on this quarterback class as a whole. Mm-hmm. I do think Pittsburgh desperately needs a quarterback. And when you look at their options of drafting somebody, Shedeur at 21 is, I think, bang for your buck is right there. Your alternative is Aaron Rodgers. That I think is a terrible alternative that you should just stick with what you currently have, which isn't good. But
right,
yeah.
Going back to Matthew Golden, Schrager's got him going 23rd overall to the Green Bay Packers.
That would be a great addition for Green Bay. I mean, the hometown team for this NFL draft, and to be able to pair them up with the wide receivers that they already have in Watson and Reed, then another talented young quarterback in Jordan Love. I think that's about as good of a first round as Green Bay could have if, again, Golden, you just look the 40 time, the playoff run for Texas. I mean, I don't think he's going to be there at 23. I really don't. So if he's able to fall that far, you can't make a better pick.
Jackson Dart, 26 to the New York Giants, projected trade with the Los Angeles Rams. Quarterback from Ole Miss. For the Giants, I like it. I don't like it as an Eagles fan, because I think Jackson Dart, I think he's actually going to end up being, I want to say above average, but not great, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see with Jackson Dart especially, I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. But, again, that's just how it's going to go. Teams are going to take him. You get an extra year of control or another year on their rookie deal. So that's I think, a good pickup for New York, especially considering they still have their number 3 overall pick and Abdul Carter at that point, and it's not like they're drafting him at number 3, which would just be incredibly dumb. So if that's what they want to do, that's fine. I mean, New York has to figure out the quarterback position before they can go forward with anything else.
I think Dart's going to be one of those quarterbacks where he will, similar to a Jared Goff, where he will go as far as the team allows him to go. So whenever he's got like a good team, they'll make a Super Bowl run, like with the Rams, or back in 2018.
Yeah.
Or with Detroit getting to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 30 years or something.
Yeah, 30 plus years.
I think he can be something like that. Whereas if he's got Malik Neighbors, if they can maybe, they still have Sterling Shepard's not there anymore.
No.
But if they can get like a solid run game, I think that offense can be pretty good.
I think the overlying issue is it's a New York run franchise that chose to pay Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley.
And I feel like they've learned their lesson. I would like to think that they learned their lesson.
I think you're probably wrong on that.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I think New York is still going to make poor decisions in terms of having a superstar and choosing the wrong guy over him. I mean, it wouldn't be as bad if Daniel Jones was still there, even though Saquon Barkley just had unbelievably historic season.
Snub for the MVP.
Yeah, it's atrocity there that he didn't win it. At 26, I think is a great spot for him if it was to the Rams. For New York, even though it's New York getting their guy, I think New York is that franchise that's going to be almost doomed for who knows how much long in terms of having a playoff contending team.
We're going to skip ahead to these last two picks here. The Kansas City Chiefs projected, and again, these are all just projections. They maybe they won't trade, maybe the Rams won't trade, and maybe the Rams do pick them up. Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce Jr. That's unfair. They don't need him.
Yeah. I mean,
well, maybe they do. They do.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to have him.
James Pierce, talking about another guy that's kind of all over the place. dropping for whatever reason. I mean, you watch them even just in Norman this past year for that top. What was that? That was a top 15 matchup at the time between Oklahoma and Tennessee. Primetime slot for ABC was impressive, and I 100% thought after watching him and Norman he's going to be a top 10 pick, maybe even the number 1 overall pick. And if he falls to 31 or 32 to the two teams that were just in the Super Bowl, that's scary for the rest of the league because it's giving two teams that have had two unbelievably talented defenses over the last few years.
I want Philadelphia to pick him up, but I know we absolutely don't really need him. But man, that would just be so fun.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the ideal draft for Eagles fans is getting James Pierce or Walter Nolan at 32, where you're not having to trade up to get them, and you're filling an immediate need of what they lost through free agency.
I think the Philadelphia would probably go more just straight linebacker to replace Brandon Graham rather than like an edge rusher, more than likely.
I think they're going to fill both needs. I think they will figure it out one way or the other. I don't know the order that they're necessarily going to do it. If Pierce is there and Nolan isn't there, I feel like that's the obvious pick is to take a guy that could finish as the second best edge rusher in this class when we're looking back at it 20 years from now, behind only Abdul Carter, who's just been unbelievable for Penn State. So, yeah, I don't know the order that they're going to go in terms of filling those needs from losing Milton Williams and losing Josh Sweat after the Super Bowl run, but they're going to find something in this draft to do so.
Which is why I don't really think that this next pick makes any sense. Schrager's got the Eagles taking Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. Cornerback is not a position that the Eagles need to be filled.
They will need one more. It's not a position you need to fill in the first round.
No.
That's the issue is you drafted Quinyon Mitchell there last year in the first round. Mm-hmm. Then you drafted Cooper DeJean, trading up in the second round. Those are your two guys going forward.
Yeah.
You do need a third because of Darius Slay going to Pittsburgh, but you don't need to draft him in the first round. Even though talented guy, I mean, 4.28 40 is not something that you see every day at the cornerback position, but I think there's much better options out there.
Who would you think is the most underrated player going into this draft? Or maybe not just one, but maybe a couple sleeper picks.
I'm just going to stick with the guys I've been talking about a lot, and that's James Pierce Jr. and Walter Nolan. I think both of them are very talented, and they've proven it in the SEC at their positions, just all over the place in terms of where they're actually going to go. So if they're able to fall to the back end of the 20s to out of the first round even potentially, I think that's the easy case for most underrated player in the draft. And then one more is Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, likely going to be a second-round pick. I think he has first-round talent, just looking at the way the board's falling for everyone. Probably not going to be drafted in the first round.
Which OU guys do you think are going to get drafted? And then where do you think what round, and where do you hope that they go? Where would be the best fit for them?
So starting with Billy and Danny, I think they're both earliest is going to be third round probably. Now, and then I also think Ethan Downs gets drafted in the final 2 rounds, maybe even sneaks into the 5th round. I've seen a few of those projections for him. I mean, if you just go off of Mel Kiper's top 150, Danny is 104, Billy's 108. So both third-round areas. I mean, the biased answer is Danny Stutzman ended up being a Philadelphia Eagle to replace what they lost for part of the season at the other linebacker spot.
That'd be so nice.
That'd be
so fun.
Oh, a great pickup for it. Already the best defense in the NFL to add of player to the caliber of Danny Stutzman. Talked about it earlier. For whatever reason, teams are hesitant to draft linebackers, true linebackers. You look at what he did at the combine with that 6'3", 6'4", 235 to 240 frame, and just everything that he accomplished over the last 4 years at Oklahoma. Whoever gets him, they're getting a very talented and very honestly underrated in terms of you're talking about him as a third, fourth round pick.
With OU football, they hired Jim Nagy as general manager of the program this offseason, and we've already seen it kind of start to pay off. The David Stone saga's over, I guess.
Yeah.
Entered his name in the transfer portal. 2 days later, took it right back out of the transfer portal, which is exactly what Jim Nagy's supposed to be doing. And then, obviously, the biggest commitment this offseason, in my opinion, is Jaden Ott, running back from California, coming here. I mean, we were talking earlier before we started. You're starting to believe a little bit.
Yeah. See, with Oklahoma, with how just poorly it has went in the Brent Venables era, that they had to kind of figure it out this offseason. And the name of the way the game is shifting in college football is general managers. I mean, Curtis Lofton, all-time great Sooner, all-time great guy, probably not the guy for the role, no longer in the role for Oklahoma. And so that general manager hire in general, I thought, was going to be massive in terms of getting somebody with NFL experience in general.
Yeah.
When I saw the announcement that it was Jim Nagy, could not believe it because I've followed what he has turned the Senior Bowl in the last 8 years from something. It's just a
fun little
extracurricular game to, I mean, the motto is now the draft starts here. Like, it is the beginning of the draft process. You watch the offseason Hard Knocks. I mean, there was a whole episode on Joe Shane being down there for the Giants. Like, everybody is there. He was able to turn so many players into elite-level NFL talents in terms of just the exposure that they're getting at the beginning of their draft process to now, I mean, at Oklahoma. He tweeted about Jaden Ott a year ago, or I guess 9 months ago when he was still Senior Bowl, because it was going to be a guy he was going to be recruiting for the Senior Bowl if everything went to plan and Ott didn't get injured and declared for the draft. So called him a home run hitter, by the way. So for him to be in that role for Oklahoma, I think it completely shows the administration is all in on winning. They've upped their NIL.
They have to be.
Yeah, but there's no excuses now for Oklahoma. The administration has shown they're all in on winning. They are giving Brent Venables everything he needs to go into the SEC this year and win a lot of football games. It's now up to him to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big question mark. You're adding a well over 3,000 yards, all-purpose yards in 31 games, 34 total touchdowns in those games, or 31 in 34 games, sorry. One return touchdown as well. I mean, he had a whole song written about him at Cal last year. So
the ought to go
ought
parody.
to go. Yeah. So that you couldn't really ask for a better offseason for Oklahoma. I mean, other than landing literally every 5-star, which isn't going to happen in college football.
No.
But I think Jim Nagy is the guy that even if it doesn't work out necessarily and there's a coaching change in the future, I would think Jim Nagy is going to be able to be at Oklahoma long-term and setting them up for long-term success in the SEC.
We're going to pivot over to OU baseball. They, before last night, 4 straight wins, 4 straight run rule wins over Oklahoma State, and then they swept Missouri this weekend, 17-4, 17-7, and 12-1. And then that the Bedlam game was, 11-1 as well?
Yeah.
So it was like 57-13 runs over the course of a week, and then they dropped the midweek to Oral Roberts, a team that they beat 11-2 2 months ago. They lost 5-3 last night here on campus. But now they get Georgia on the road, number 10 Georgia, who, You said they just lost to Vanderbilt, right?
Swept
by Vanderbilt.
on the road in Nashville, but
That drops their record to 33-10 and 10-8 in conference play, but 24-2 at home. It's pretty good.
yeah, they've been unbelievable at home. They lead the SEC in home runs by pretty good margin. Storyline for that, Oklahoma's second baseman Kyle Branch, his older brother's shortstop for Georgia, hits a lot of tanks as well. So everyone in that Georgia lineup is capable of going yard at any given moment.
Bunch of dogs.
Yeah, they completely fit the saying down there. And with OU, I think it's a big weekend. The biggest thing is don't get swept. That's the one thing you have to be able to accomplish every single week in the SEC. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to go into Athens and be able to win the series, because if they do, I mean, you're going to have a lot of talk of, okay, Oklahoma could be a regional host, or maybe even a super regional host if they're able to finish well down this kind of 4-week stretch that's very tough. You're playing teams that were in Omaha not that long ago, within the last few years. So
don't forget, Oklahoma was one of those teams
yeah,
that was in Omaha
they were.
not too long ago.
They 100% were. So, again, this past week, I don't know how much you can really take from it. This is the worst Oklahoma State team in a very long time.
And Missouri's just god-awful.
Yeah, Missouri shouldn't have a baseball team, in my opinion. They
0-18 in conference play this year. Did they win any conference games last year, do you know?
I think they won a couple, but they've been bad for many, many years. It's not just a new thing for Missouri baseball to be bad. They've been bad for quite a while, really throughout their move to the SEC. So, yeah, with Georgia, just find a way to not get swept for one, to win one. And I think that starts tomorrow night. Kyson Witherspoon is probably the best pitcher in America right now. You look at any sort of draft board, he's pretty much a top 10 pick. He's likely the second collegiate pitcher taken in this MLB draft, first right-handed pitcher from the college level to be taken. You have to find ways to win his starts. You just have to. It sets the tone for the entire series. I think it almost relaxes the rest of the team to where you're not playing from behind the rest of the way. Because, I mean, you drop a Kyson start, if you're going to want to win the series, you have to win your next two with Crossland and then Malachi Witherspoon on the mound. So they just have to find ways to get runs up on the scoreboard. And you look at the walks, they're one of the best. And one thing to point out, last night, Trey Gamble, leadoff hitter again for Oklahoma. First time they've lost with Gamble in the leadoff spot. So maybe that's something you continue to see. 6-1 record.
So I was looking up Missouri baseball because you said that they shouldn't have a program. So I was like, and I knew they've been bad for a while. It's worse than I thought.
It's bad.
Take a guess when the last time they had a non-sub 500 record in conference play. Just take a guess. What year?
Was it Big 12 years?
No.
So they've had an above 500 record in the conference in the SEC.
Not above.
At
2016. 2015. Very close. They were 15-15 in 2015 in conference play. Take a shot at their last winning season in conference play.
Again, was it Big 12?
It was Big 12.
Okay. They went there 2011. 10? Longer?
2009. They went 16-11 in Big 12 play. But weirdly enough, in 2012, their last season in the Big 12, 10-14 in conference play, they won the Big 12 tournament. And
that's baseball for you. Yeah.
That's baseball.
It is very bad. But the issue is you have to stick with them in the conference because you don't want an odd number of teams. I mean, Big 12 baseball has dealt with it now for a few years.
It's been 20, 25 years now.
Yeah, and it's tough. It makes your conference tournament an absolute pain because you have to basically leave somebody out, or you could try to do a play-in game technically, but that's an extra game in a short amount of time.
I think what they did last year, since
last year it evened out.
Yeah, because they brought in the 4 new teams, and Iowa State doesn't have a baseball team, so it was 13 of 16 teams, and I think what they did is they had like the top 10 or the top 12 or something like that in the tournament.
I believe so. Or I don't know why I was thinking they had an even number last year with the 4 that they brought in, but maybe not.
No, because I remember
BYU has a team, Houston has a team, UCF, and Cincy, so I was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking on that, but
there's 14 Big 12 teams and 13 Big 12 baseball teams.
Yes, and I think last year worked better with having more teams than to try to set up an 8-team bracket with double elimination is what you're basically doing before. They still did the 2 split brackets and you flip and all that. So it's confusing. I think it's going to work out better for them going forward with even more teams in the conference.
Oklahoma softball, number 4 team in the country, 39-5 this year, 13-5 in conference play. They swept Mississippi State, but man, they just don't. They don't seem to got it this year.
This weekend's going to tell you a lot about Oklahoma. I mean, just in terms of the rivalry setting. I mean, you're playing the number 3 team in the country, a team you just played for in the national championship last June. I'm with you. Maybe Patty proves us all wrong. That seems to be the way.
She always does.
Always does, but you look at the teams that she had. I mean, that was an historic senior class. Would go as far to say the greatest in terms of college sports as a whole, with the 4 just seniors that they had. I mean, 6 overall in that class, what they were able to do, constantly finding ways to win games on. And they had a 70-game win streak in the middle of all that. That's unbelievable to be able to accomplish something.
They had a 70-game win streak. The previous win streak was like 42 games.
Yeah.
They broke the record by 20 games.
I think they also had like a 50-something game win streak also at some point in that whole stretch. But this year, Sam Landry, great pitcher. I still think Oklahoma has to find another pitcher to where in a 3-game setting you can be comfortable for Friday, your game 1, your game 2, and then use Sam Landry again in your game 3, preferably out of the bullpen, not having to start. Again, a lot of innings last year at Louisiana, but the SEC is...
It's a different animal.
Yeah, you can't compare to it. I mean, it was already the best conference for college softball. Then they added the 2 teams that just played for a national championship into it. So,
are you gonna try to go to any of the games?
No, I'll be working one of the games, but that's all.
Yeah, Texas at Love's. Texas here in Oklahoma at Love's Field Friday through Sunday. They're all nationally televised. That's going to be so good just for the sport.
Oh, it 100% is. I mean, I think on top of what Oklahoma's been able to do in softball and being able to grow the game to now that it's a well-watched college sport when it comes to be the postseason time.
I think it's still the fastest growing sport.
Yeah, and it's growing at a rate that you would just honestly could have never projected in terms of for a women's sport. So on top of that, to be able to have Texas being the rival team for Oklahoma, also very talented, makes it even better. And it's going to be for just softball fans across the country. That's what you want to watch. You want to watch 2 powerhouse rivals play each other and potentially the upset in Norman, something that hasn't happened for Texas in a bit.
Is it wrong that I kind of feel like OU might get swept?
I don't
I
necessarily.
think there's a chance.
Oh, I'm 100% with you. I mean, you saw it last weekend against Mississippi State in both games of the doubleheader, falling behind by 4 runs early to be able to come back from that. They were able to do it, but they're playing Mississippi State. Again,
You're
15 team.
You're not doing that against Texas.
I don't think
More
you
than
are.
likely you're not doing that
I
against
don't
Texas.
think you're doing it against Texas. You look at, I mean, even last year, Oklahoma lost 2 out of 3 on the road with, again, an incredibly more talented team than what they have right now. With that senior class, the moment was never too big for them. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing right now for Oklahoma is Cassidy Pickering has been great. At times, the rest of the lineup can go cold. Ella Parker's having just the worst slump she's really ever had, probably in her entire life. It's crazy. So they're going to have, I think, a combination of Parker figuring it out again and getting back into a groove, Gabby Garcia to be able to be clutch at any given moment, and a couple more bats be able to step up.
Last thing, real quick. OU Women's Gymnastics won their 7th national championship, all 7 coming under head coach KJ Kindler since 2014. Obviously, they lost in the semifinals last year. Kind of controversial how they lost, but they, score a 198.0125 over Missouri, Utah, and UCLA in the finals. Jordan Bowers wins an individual national championship in the all-around with a 39.7125. Pretty good.
Really good. I mean, it's what everyone expected to happen. I mean, the way that they lost last year, no one expected that to begin with. And for this year, lost twice out of 3 times against LSU in the regular season. And head-to-head, and then the conference tournament.
I was shocked LSU did not.
I was as well.
Make it to the finals.
I think that would have made it even sweeter for Sooner fans if LSU would have been there in Oklahoma, able to beat them for the second time this season in the championship. But it's 100% what you expect. I mean, them losing last year was just.
Do you think that actually, because apparently like the balance beam was like a little bit loose, and I think there was something with like the bars not kind of
it
like
was
the uneven bars.
Well,
the
whole thing like Oklahoma is always basically perfect, and for the errors that were happening, it
was very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I think that's the right term for it. I mean, it's something that you would never expect happen that ended up happening on a big stage like the semifinals, but they were able to just put it all behind them a year later and go on a dominant stretch and win it all in really, big fashion to be able to come away with that 7th national championship.
Yeah. Man, these OU gymnastics teams are just so damn good. It's wild.
Yeah.
Of how good both the men's and women's, because I don't think there's another team or another school in the country that has like 2 powerhouses like that.
I don't believe so. I could be wrong. Maybe Michigan, maybe you throw them in that category. Michigan's usually pretty good. I mean, they won the men's national championship.
Yeah, they wins the men's national championship. OU men's came in 3rd behind them, and Stanford again. At least Stanford didn't win their 6th straight national championship. Yeah. I guess that's kind of the only thing that I got out of watching that meet.
Yeah, I thought this was the year for the men's team with
I did too.
How they've been able to, they played Stanford multiple times and able to take care of business those times around. And
they finished 2-2 against Stanford.
Yeah.
With that last loss. The first meet and the last meet of the season were both losses to Stanford.
Correct.
That's so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be all the time that we have today. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much for watching the 4th episode of the Blow the Whistle podcast. Make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, and we will see you next time.